Hi, I'm Jennifer Miller from the Producing class, and this is your shooting schedule tutorial video with Movie Magic Scheduling 6. This is a two-part tutorial, and we're about to begin part 1. To begin, you want to locate and open your Movie Magic Scheduling application. If you're having any trouble accessing this app, please contact FSO Support for assistance. We are going to do a walkthrough review of this application. So when you first open the app, you're going to come up with this splash screen, and it can ask you to open a new schedule or a new template or watch the tutorials. Now you'll notice when this app first opens, it's going to automatically take you to your first breakdown sheet, but before we get into that, I want to quickly go through the file menu at the top of the page. So under Scheduling, you have your preferences. This is where you can set up your auto-save reminder intervals, and if you want to customize your toolbar with any kind of text options, you can do that as well. Under Scheduling Preferences, you can set your scene numbering to automatic, which is suggested, and the default. And you can also set up some other settings in terms of your time and element linking preferences. Under your file menu, you can open a new schedule, close a schedule, save, import and export. This import button is useful for students who may be writing a script in a final draft format. Now for the DCBS program, we are not using the final draft application, so this won't apply to us, but if you're using it in the future or for any other project, you can import your script in this way. And then print view, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Then you have your editing menu with your standard cut, copy, paste, delete. You can also use the find tools if you need to find a certain element within your breakdown sheets. And then under the breakdown menu, we have your sheets, the element quick entry add, the flags, and your element linking manager. Under scheduling, you can access your calendar view versus your stripboard view, and then your boneyard, which is your unused scenes where they're going to be stored. Then we have your other manager tools here and your day out of days preferences. Under design, you have your report layouts, your strip layouts and calendar layouts, category managers, and you can adjust the different strip colors in here as well. And actions, adding sheets, merging, duplicating sheets, and then showing any red flags and quick element entries. Your window is your different views and showing you the current sheet that you're working on, and then you have your help menu as well. So let's go down into our breakdown sheet, and in order to prepare for this, the first thing you need to do is open up your script breakdown. So now I have open my sample AV script breakdown, and you'll notice that we did our lining with our horizontal measurement lines, and we've already done our color coding on this AV script, and I'm using the sample script breakdown PDF. So I'm going to be using this script as a reference to then begin filling out the information in Movie Magic Scheduling for our breakdown sheets. Now guys, this is pretty much a digital way of completing a scene breakdown sheet. So in earlier classes, you should have worked with and been familiar with creating your scene breakdown sheet forms. But instead of putting the information into those forms, we are putting it directly into our Movie Magic scheduling template, and it's going to kind of calculate and sort all of those elements for us. So we are still completing the process of creating a scene breakdown, but we're just doing it in this digital format rather than on the traditional scene breakdown sheet page. If you have any questions about that or would like a review of the more traditional scene breakdown forms, we would be more than happy to provide you with those resources. Okay everyone, so the first thing we're going to do is save out our file. So go to File, Save As. If you get this pop-up, you can go ahead and hit OK, and then we are going to save it as your last name _ schedule. MSD is the extension for a Movie Magic project file. You do need to save it so that if something happens or if you need to come back to your project later, this is the file that you will be opening up and editing. So save that to your desktop or wherever you wish and then click Save. Now we are going to go ahead and begin adding in our information to our sheets in Movie Magic. So what you'll need to do is take out the script breakdown sheet that you completed earlier this week for reference. So this is our sample script breakdown. You can find this in the week 3 activity downloads area. So this is basically the color-coded and tagged shooting script version for this sample script for that Creations Catering ad. So I'm going to use this as an example as we are entering our information in to Movie Magic Scheduling. Okay, so let's take a look at the first scene. This is an exterior, and it takes place on a residential sidewalk day. So when I move over into my sheet information, it's automatically going to populate the sheet numbers, and those are going to progress in order. So this is our first sheet, sheet 1. Our scene here is the scene number. So the first scene is scene 1. Interior or exterior, we said this is going to be exterior. Set is going to be the location information, and you can pull that, guys, directly from your scene heading. So this residential sidewalk here is going to go here. All right, and then this takes place during the day. So select day from this drop down here, and you'll see it automatically starts coloring our sheets. And then the page information, this is our page measurement for this scene. Okay, so this is where your page measurement lines are going to come in handy and be useful. So what we want to do is take a look at scene 1, and we are going to measure out the length of scene 1. So scene 1 starts here at the beginning, and it goes all the way down to here before scene 2 begins. Now you'll notice that this ending of scene 1 is in between my 3/8 mark and my 4/8 mark. So it could go either way. You could choose to round it up if you think it's closer to 4/8, or it's really right in the middle, so I could round it down. Now I'm going to consider the content that I have in this scene. I don't have any stunts, I don't have any special effects, I don't have any really intense or emotional dialogue. It's minimal talent, so it's not a big group scene, so it's pretty basic in terms of scene content. So for that reason, I'm going to choose to round down, and I'm going to estimate the length of the scene as 3/8. So when I go over to my pages, this first box is for whole or complete pages, and then you see the 0 with that / and then an 8. So we said we're going to round down to 3/8, so you're going to type in a 3 here. Okay, you're going to leave this first one as 0 because that scene does not represent a complete page. Now, you might remember that the smallest unit of measurement is 1/8, and the highest is 8/8, which would be 1 page. If you have more than 1 page, let's say you have only 1 scene for your entire script and your script is 2 pages long, then you would put a 2 for 2 complete pages, and let's say it goes 1/8 onto the 3rd page. So that would be the length if that were all one scene, okay? So this scene is only 3/8, this is a 0. Okay. Now, synopsis is a short written description of how you would describe that scene in your own words. So for scene 1, if I took a look at what was going on in this scene, let's say that the dancer and the dad are walking down the sidewalk after her recital. So I'm going to just type in my own words. What is happening? Okay. The scripted page means what page Does this scene take place on? Obviously, everything in scene 1 is on page 1 of your script, so I'm going to just go ahead and type in the number 1 here. Now, if scene 1 did extend into multiple pages, like we mentioned earlier, let's say that it went on to page 2, then I would add a dash and say pages 1 to 2. But again, it's only on page 1, so I'm going to add in page 1 here. Now, the script day is usually used for longer narrative projects. It's not as applicable for our short commercials, but it's basically asking you to consider what scripted day this scene is going to take place on. If you wanted to, you could name it something like recital day, because that's kind of the day that our scene is taking place in terms of the storyline. But this is pretty subjective for a shorter project, so you can name it something that makes sense to you in terms of scripted day. Now, the one thing that is useful here is if you're having any flashbacks or flash forwards, those are places where you can specify that scripted day or even year in this box here. Unit is probably not going to be applicable to our productions. This is if you have a bigger production and if you have multiple units, like a Unit A, Unit B, or 1 and 2, you can add that information in here. For most of our smaller student productions, we're only going to have one team or one unit, so we're going to skip over that box. The sequence can sometimes be confusing for students because some applications refer to sequences the same way that they refer to a scene heading, but in this case it's referring to a group of scenes or maybe a particular location that may be repeated throughout the video. It can also represent something like an interview sequence if you have that. But if nothing comes to mind, or if you don't have any specific groupings that you need to specify, you can go ahead and leave this prompt blank as well. Now we're going to move down to the location prompt at the very bottom on the left. Now this is the actual physical location where you are going to be shooting this scene. I just realized it didn't copy that perfectly. So this is going to be the actual location. So the set or the location that is in our scene heading is the residential sidewalk, but which residential sidewalk? Where exactly are we going to be shooting this? You want to be as detailed as possible. So for this one, we are at the outside of Chef Aaron's home, and this is in Sanford, Florida. Okay, so that's going to be our actual location where we are going to be shooting the residential sidewalk scene. Next, we have your estimated time. Take into consideration all of the things that we need to think about when we are estimating the amount of time that you're going to be needing for your scenes. So you want to think about things like, are you at the beginning of the day or the end of the day or somewhere in the middle? Have you just moved from another location, or have you already been at this location with all of your equipment set up? Do you have any more difficult or challenging dialogue or especially emotional scenes that your actors might need more time for? Do you have any stunts or special effects or extra things going on? Do you have any animals or children that are going to possibly need additional time to shoot? All of those things can affect the time that you need to plan for this scene. So I really don't want to see any scenes that have like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or on the much shorter end for estimated times, guys, because those aren't really taking into account any buffer time. Even if you only have one shot in a scene, you want to consider, do you need to set up for it, taking a couple test shots, making sure you set your lighting levels and sound levels if there's any dialogue, and then getting the actual shot itself. So yeah, you most likely can't do that in 10 minutes, even with an experienced crew. For this one, it's the first scene of the day. I'm going to give ourselves an hour and 30 minutes in the plan. And again, this is one part of the pre-production process where you do want to give some buffer time, some extra time. You want to be running ahead of schedule, not behind schedule. The comment section is optional, but this is where you can add any extra important comments that you need, any production notes that you need to bring to mind or make light of. Go ahead and add that into comments if you want to. Like I said, it's totally optional. Now we have all of our top portion prompts answered. So we're going to go ahead and move into our elements category. Now for this section, this is where we're going to look back at our scene breakdown sheet and we're going to use those color coding tags to find the elements that we need to add into our schedule. So the first element you'll see on the list here to the left is cast members. Cast members are tagged in red. So for these cast, we have our dancer and our father. So we're going to add those in. So what I'm going to do is click on the word cast members and a white text box is going to pop up. I'm going to go ahead and type in our first cast member name. You're going to add each name separately. Then you're going to click return. This unknown element name box is going to pop up. It's going to tell you that there's no element yet named dancer in the category of cast members. Do you want to add it? You're going to say yes, and it'll go ahead and put a nice little green check mark there and add that to our column. Then we want to add another one. So if you click anywhere again, we're going to type in, we called him father in the script. So I almost wrote dad. It's really important that you try to match the wording exactly how you have it in your script so it lines up. So we have it in our script as father. Click return. Yes, I want to add it. Okay. So now under cast members, we have the dancer and the father added in. Let's go back to our breakdown and we'll see the next thing that we have in here is a props tag for flowers. So now I'm going to go down to my props category, type in flowers. Okay. And let's see, what else do I have tagged? Now I do have our location tagged in here, but you do not need to add that in our elements list because we already have it reflected up here under the set information. So the only other one I have tagged here is a door. Now you'll see it is in purple, but purple can represent your props or also it can represent set decor. So in this instance, I'm going to add it under set dressing and I'm going to add door, because it's important our characters play into it, meaning they open or close it on screen. So that's important to make that note there that that's one of the elements that we need to make sure we have in that scene on camera. Okay, so those are all of the tags that I have from my script breakdown. So that tells me I have everything entered from scene 1. I want to give you guys one other tip, and that's over here in this big open white box right here. If you double click in that, that is going to actually open up your image manager, and this will give you the option to add a storyboard image if you want to. If you prepare storyboards on your own and you want to add the storyboard representation for this particular scene, you can go ahead and upload that and add that in there. You can also add a photo, such as a location scouting photo, if you want to share more information on the physical space that you'll be setting up for these shots. So now that we have sheet 1 completed, we're going to go ahead and move on to sheet 2. I want you to go up to the icon all the way on the very top in the left-hand corner. This is going to be Add Sheet. The shortcut is Command B. Go ahead and click on that, and that did not delete your first sheet, but it just moved us forward onto sheet 2. Again, automatically numbered here. We are going to go ahead and enter our information for scene 2. Scene 2 is an interior Sweet 16 party foyer day. So, interior Sweet 16 this takes place day. Let's take a look at what our measurement is. Okay, scene 2 begins here, ends down here. So this is 1, to 3 sections and then 1 additional line. So again, this is just barely over the 3 section mark, and I also know that there is no excessive or emotional dialogue or no special effects or anything crazy going on, so I'm going to go ahead and round this to 3/8 as well. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 3. Then we have our synopsis for scene 2. I'm going to say that birthday girl opens some presents. Oh, no, she doesn't open presents. She opens the door to guests, and guests check out food. Okay, this is taking place still on scripted page 1. And, oh, it wants to tell me that it's been 15 minutes since I last saved. So we're going to go ahead and say yes, we'll save it. Okay, scripted page 1, still the same recital day. And the location is the inside Chef Aaron's home. And you don't have to put the city and state unless you are working with like multiple houses or you know of a specific house or location. You can even put a specific address if you want to. For the estimated time for that one, let's go ahead and put 45 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and start adding our tags in. So we have a birthday girl, Alyssa, and then it looks like we have guests 1 and 2. But guest 1, let's see. Yep, so we have Alyssa, guest 1 speaking, and guest 2 speaking. So because these are speaking lines, they're going to all be added under cast member. Okay, now we have that door again. We have party decor, a catering tray, and then food on the tray. Okay, so putting the door back in to set dressing. Now, I already had the door entered, so instead of creating a new listing, we want to use the listing that we already had because we're referring to the same door. Now, if you had 2 different scenes, one was at a park and one was at this house, private house, and you had 2 different doors, like a door to the playground and the door to the house, then you would want to be more specific in your listing, such as playground door, so that you could recognize the difference between those 2 elements, okay? But this is actually the same door. We don't need this one. So you're just going to click on it and click delete on your keyboard, and that'll go ahead and take it away. So since we're reusing the door, you just want to select that door from the list. It'll put that check mark and it'll add it to this scene. Then we want to add our other props elements, party decor, a small catering tray, and food on a tray. Because the characters are interacting with this food, it is considered a prop as opposed to having food like for craft services or catering that your cast and crew would eat. This is a prop because it's a part of the scene. Okay, so now we have all of our prop elements and our talent elements in here for scene 2. So everything is set up and completed for our second sheet and scene. All right, so let's go ahead and just assume that I've already completed the remaining scenes or sheets for the rest of this script example that we are working on. So for this sample script for our Creations Catering ad, we had 5 scenes total. So I should have 5 sheets in Movie Magic. Okay, so now that you have that entered in there, we are going to go ahead and move into the next steps, which is just setting up your cast members or talent numbering. So there's a few different ways to approach this. One way that you can actually do it is going to your breakdown tab on quick element entry, or element quick entry, I'm sorry, whenever you first open your file and get started right away. That is one approach that you can take, and then you'll already have your talent in the list that you can select from. I personally prefer to kind of add them as we go, as I've shown you in this tutorial video, and then go back in and update their numbering after. So I have all my scenes in here. I'm going to open up element quick entry, and under category, I'm going to choose cast members. So when you're numbering talent, guys, this is a ranking system, and you're ranking talent in order of appearance or dominance. So technically the rule is whoever has the most scripted lines is going to rank first, number one, and then you're going to progress down from there. That's a little bit easier and more clear to do when you're working on a longer script or a narrative script. When we're working on these short format, 1 or 2 page scripts for the commercial or the PSA, sometimes there's really no one that stands out as having many more lines than another, and that's kind of the case for this example script that we're looking at today. So we are going to tag in the order of appearance. So the first person that appears in my script is our dancer, followed by our father. So now it's important to note that these check marks that you see here are the characters that are present in the scene that you currently have open. So you want to make sure you're not clicking and trying to edit this way, because if I double click on one of these lines, it is going to add that character into the scene that you have open in the background, and that character isn't supposed to be in that scene. So just double click again and make sure to remove it. So do not try to click where it says board ID, because that will add the character into a scene that you may not want them to be in. Instead, you want to find the character. So let's find our dancer. And then once you click once and have their name highlighted, go over to the right hand side and choose the edit button. This is going to open up our edit element window for that character who is the dancer. Since she is the first appearing in my script and we don't have anyone that stands out from the rest in terms of the number of scripted lines, I am going to give her a board ID number of 1. Then you're going to go ahead and click lock to lock that ID number in. Now that's the only information that you need to add in this window, and you can go ahead and click OK. But before we do that, I do want to show you some of the other tools that you can use optionally in this window. So you can give the person hold days, allow drop or pickup days, give them a minimum number of days between drops and pickups. It'll show you here the usage. So this is telling us that the dancer is currently scheduled in 1 scene or sheet. And then down here on the bottom, you can add in element properties. So this would be the full name, address, phone number of the talent who is playing, in this case, the dancer. You can also put their agent's name or company name and their agent's contact phone number, also their rate if you are paying them, and any notes you want to add. Again, this is optional, not required, but it may be helpful to your future shoots. So now you'll see the board ID is assigned as 1 for our dancer, and she automatically is moved up to the top of this list. You're going to go through and do that same process to number out all of your cast members or your main talent. So my second person to appear in my script is the father, so I'm going to click once, edit, give him a number 2, lock it in, hit OK, and that's going to move him up to 2. So you're going to go ahead and do that for all of the remaining talent. Ding! And then once you have all of your board ID numbers added in for all of your speaking roles or anyone listed under the cast members category, go ahead and hit close and they will apply into your scenes. Now I want to go over one other step that might be useful or helpful to some of you when filling out your scheduling sheets. Something I want to draw your attention to is the fact that here in scene 5, you'll notice we have our bride and groom, but we don't have their wardrobe tagged like we did in scene 4. So in other words, in our script in scene 4, we included the detail information that the bride was wearing the white ball gown and the groom was wearing the tux. However, we don't have that specified in the shot information in scene 5, so it wasn't tagged as part of our breakdown, and because it wasn't included here, it wasn't included in our digital breakdown sheets. Now you might think as a producer, well, isn't it obvious that the bride's going to be wearing a wedding dress and the groom's going to be wearing a tux? They're still at their wedding. It's still on the wedding day. Yes and no. I mean, yes, it is kind of obvious, but when we are working as a producer and doing our pre-production planning, you always want to be as detailed as possible and as descriptive as you possibly can be. So in this case, the information wasn't in the script, so it wasn't transferred over. Yes, you can go ahead and make the call and add it yourself, even though it's not listed here in the script because we know it's required. But another thing that you can do is you can connect or link specific elements like props to specific cast members or characters. So for example, if we say that we have a bride as one of our cast members, and this bride, in everything that she does for our production, she is always going to be wearing her wedding dress. So we want to link the wardrobe element of the wedding dress or the ball gown to the bride's character. So what you can do is go to the breakdown tab here and select Element Linking Manager. Now I had already clicked on the cast member bride, so it set it up as the bride element, and it's asking me if I want to create an anchor. So yes, I want to create an anchor for the bride, and that's going to list the bride over in my left-hand column under my anchors list. Now it's asking me who or what do I want to link this element to. So I want to link the bride element, and I want to choose, instead of cast members, I'm going to choose wardrobe, and I'm going to find the white ball gown. And then I'm going to click on Add Element. So now this is showing me that the bride is going to be linked to the white ball gown anywhere that she is seen in the production. It says add linked elements to all breakdown sheets. Yes, I want to apply it to all sheets, and it's telling me it'll be applied to 2 breakdown sheets, and because I'm familiar with my script, I know that is scene 4 or sheet 4 and scene 5 or sheet 5, and that's correct. So I'm going to click OK, and it's been applied, and I'm going to click Close. So now you'll notice that I did not physically add in the white ball gown, but the white ball gown or the bride's dress was automatically added in here to sheet 5 just because my bride was present in that scene. Now if I were to add any additional scenes that the bride happened to be in, then the wardrobe information would automatically pop up whenever I added the bride as a cast member. Pretty cool, right? Now the next thing that we can do is go under your design tab and go to production info, which is another part of preparing our information here, and you can add in this basic information. So production title, you can add the production number, the company, production company name, the director, which would be the student's name, the producer's name, which may also be the student, the UPM, assistant director, art director, set dresser, if you have any of those. Crew positions titled, and then the script date. This is the date of the last revision of your script. So let's just type in something there. And hit OK. So now we've completed all of our prep work in regards to breaking down our scenes within Movie Magic scheduling. And the next step is actually scheduling our shoot days into our calendar.